When I make my videos, I try my hardest to keep warm fuzzy feelings out of my perspective and instead focus on what might have caused such feelings in the first place. Here, I'm giving my inner child a break and throwing all sense of professionalism out the window. This list is for those games that I remember with glee. This list runs entirely on emotions, so prepare yourself for that. To be eligible for this list, I must have played the game for less than an hour total within the last 5 years. Even with those standards, this list was crippling to decide. It shouldn't be this difficult, damn it.
Number 10.
I did not play Shining Force on the Sega Genesis. I tried it when my brother received Sega Smash Pack 2 for the PC. It had a couple of games, such as Comic Zone, which was too confusing and had difficult jumps. Kid Chameleon, where I was supposed to know that the night suit helped you climb walls somehow, Sonic 2, which is history, Flicky, which was a top candidate for this list itself, Vectorman 2, which although I did not pass the third level, I still demanded a third entry for the series, Super Hang-On, which I forgot was in the pack until I did more research, and maybe a few others. Shining Force stands in my memory as the most nostalgic, however. It reminds me of a tabletop RPG, and you interacted with townsfolk, opened lots of chests, and planned your strategies having your character fight the most to be the strongest member of the Shining Force because it just feels right. I never beat the game. There was a battle with a laser cannon that would deal massive damage every time it had its turn. This game only makes number 10 because although I still look upon it fondly, it's the entry I played the least recently, and as a result I would say my view of it is too fuzzy. I can't really remember specifics of the game. But hey, that gives me all the better a reason to later shatter this list by playing it again.
Number 9.
Yugioh. You might remember it as an animated show or a card game. Me, I recognize it as both, and in two different video games for the Game Boy Advance. One is Yugioh the Eternal Duelist Soul, which simulates the card game, and the other is Dungeon Dice Monsters, which simulates a spin-off of the card game. The first one I played more, but that only made the time I spent with the second one more memorable. In the end, it was impossible for me to choose, so I had to tie them, and not solely because they're from the same franchise. With Eternal Duelist Soul, the best thing about the game was that any Yu-Gi-Oh cards you owned had ID numbers on the bottom left corner. If you entered these codes into the game, you could play the Eternal Duelist Soul with your own deck. I remember laughing like a maniac once I put the code in for the Winged Dragon of Ra, only to become disappointed when I was informed that the game would not let me use such a powerful card. Oh, the fun this game brought me. I was afraid of fighting Yugi at first because I thought he would be really good, but I was shocked at how he was the weakest character. I had only just unlocked the third set of duelists before the game's save battery started becoming finicky and it would reset every 2 weeks or so afterwards. Even with an unfit copy, I still played it, loving just about every second of it, and turning the game off whenever I was about to lose as to not mess up my perfect winning record. As for Dungeon Dice Monsters, I feel it was a more unique and vibrant game, with much more interesting strategy than how I played Eternal Duelist Soul. I tried saving my money to obtain the pieces of Exodia, which was not a good idea considering how often I lost this game. Aw, I remember when we were looking for money under the couch, and how I found this game and stopped caring about the nickels and quarters instantaneously. Good times.
Number 8.
Nintendo Power suggested this game to me. It had Mario and Mr. Game & Watch host a series of reimagined and original Game & Watch games. Mr. Game & Watch talks! How cool is that? I didn't unlock all of the games available, but I enjoyed every single one I had. The best were clearly Boxing, Mario Cement Factory, and Chef. The game also came with the original Game & Watch versions of the games, which I remember being more difficult and having less variety. People in the early 1980s must have had it rough in terms of electronic entertainment.
Number 7.
The spiritual successor of Hey You Pikachu, Pokemon Channel combined two of just about every American child's favorite activities, Pokemon and watching television. Wait a second, using your console to watch TV? That's absurd. This game had a lot of funny moments for me, but I feel citing them isn't even necessary with this game. It reminds me a lot of what it's like to be a child in the summer. Getting up, watching television, exploring the world, the list goes on. The game is also so adorable with its Pokemon. A lot of people give this game flack for not really having anything to win and being pointless tomfoolery, but really, it didn't try to be anything other than that. I'd love to get this game again and play it, but it runs on a real-time clock, and since I haven't played it in about 7 years or so, I'm a little afraid the game will start by showing Pikachu's skeleton on the floor. Spooky.
Number 6.
As a kid, you were often only allowed to play the games your parents allowed you. I'm not going to lie. Growing up, I played a steady stream of games on Nintendo systems and on the PC. My main man on the PC was Putt-Putt. This purple behemoth had the power to overcome any problem that came to him, be it collecting the proper items to participate in a parade, reorganizing the zoo, or traveling through time to collect his homework. My memory of these games are spread too thinly since I played way too many Putt-Putt games too long ago, but there's one game by Humongous Entertainment I remember pretty well since I only played one game in the franchise. Star Fox and Dry Cereal was awesome, or at least that's my humble opinion. The game was a standard point-and-click adventure, except you were a spy, and you were a fox. The game is filled with puns and borrows a lot from movies such as the James Bond films. Fun fact, my dad often mixed up Spy Fox with Star Fox. How the hell could you do that? It's such a silly mistake.
Number 5.
I, Gaming Top 10, have played only one mainstream Pokemon game. Shocking, I know. When I was younger, I was a huge fan of the anime and hardly cared for the games. Now I pay a modest amount of attention towards the games and hardly care for the anime. Anyways, Pokemon Yellow was based off the anime, so it was a great way to get my feet wet with the series. I knew all the Pokemon, and I liked how they let me do my own thing rather than just follow in Ash's footsteps. Pokemon Yellow was the second game I ever bought completely with my own money, mostly collected from birthdays. It was great assembling a team and then using only Pikachu and just shocking everything. This one time I was climbing the tower in Lavender Town and my Pikachu fainted from fighting. I had put all my eggs in one basket, so to speak, and had a hard time beating Team Rocket at the end of the tower. Today I know to diversify your portfolio, but back then, as soon as I finally beat Team Rocket, I went back to using Thunder Shock on everything. I went through the entirety of Rock Tunnel without using Flash, only to be quite livid when I found out about how much easier traveling can be. I also finally assembled my endgame Pokemon team, featuring Pikachu, Mewtwo, Blastoise, Venusaur, Charizard, and a Fearow I nicknamed Butt, B-U-T. Eventually I changed it to the noun I was looking for.
Number 4.
Just a heads up, since the next game has nothing but licensed songs for its soundtrack, I'm going to be using a soundtrack that can fit in any situation. Apologies for any confusion. Oh boy, now we're getting into it. SSX3, given to me as, I think it was a birthday present. I was adamant about the game at first, doing backflips during a race down the slopes I did not find too enjoyable, but over time I learned to control it. I learned to master it. The game had a hit or miss soundtrack of licensed tunes, but when it worked really well. Most of these songs are still enjoyable, and my brother cites this game as what made him fall in love with Yellowcard. The tracks were also fun. The Metro City stage had more routes to take than there are types of Oreos and versions of Monopoly, combined. The game's difficulty curve was just about perfect, and if you had half an hour to kill, you could start at the very top of the mountain and go all the way down to the bottom, traveling through many stages in between. Glorious.
Number 3.
Pac-Man is best known for his original game involving munching dots, but I really say that's unfair. I'd much rather play PacMan World 2. First things first, this main theme will be drilled in your head forever. You think any song from the Mega Man series is memorable? Bah! They pale in comparison to this tune. The game is stocked with awesome songs, albeit less memorable ones than the main theme. In PacMan World 2, you have your ground pound, you have your spin dash, you have your gravity-defying munchies. The game is, for the most part, linear, but it's a collectathon at heart, stocked with all different items to unlock goodies. Also, I know I shoved aside Pac-Man's original title, but the game includes mini-games based off of the original Pac-Man, and even includes older Pac-Man titles to play. I remember when I first played this at my great-uncle's house with mild skepticism. I mean, weren't they just trying to keep Pac-Man relevant? But I was wrong. Very wrong. I bought it again recently, played about 30 minutes of it, and I must say it's not as good as I remember. However, it remains an enjoyable title, and I still get a warm fuzzy feeling whenever I talk about it.
Number 2.
Super Mario World for the Super Nintendo. Quite possibly the first game I ever played. I'm not sure. Of what I am sure is that the first game I ever spent my own money on was Super Mario World for the Game Boy Advance. My mom told me when I was 6 or 7 that I could buy just about anything I wanted provided I could afford it. And I knew what I wanted. The new Game Boy and the bundled copy of Super Mario World, apparently now called Super Mario Advance 2. I played it, unlocking the Star Road from the forest without really attempting to, and being shocked when I beat a Star Road level and found myself at Bowser's front door. I beat the game, but that wasn't enough. I got the maximum possible score, but that wasn't enough. I cleared all the exits, but that wasn't enough. I obtained 999 lives, but that wasn't enough. I'd like to say I had the idea of obtaining all the Dragon Coins, but that was something I, for some reason or another, never completed. Somewhere along the line, I had other games such as Pokemon Yellow and the Yugioh games, but I could still pop this game in and enjoy it every time. For an honorable mention, I must mention that I fell in love with Roller Coaster Tycoon the day a friend of mine brought it over to play on our computer. Eventually, we got our own copy, and copies of the expansion packs, which we soon lost after installation. If I remember correctly, those expansion packs stopped working after one activation regardless. Way to support the litter problem our world faces. Anyways, this game is the ultimate proof that you don't need graphics or much data in order to make a solid gaming experience. I preferred it to the second Roller Coaster Tycoon since it was easier to manage money. It's not on the list, however, since I play it every now and then and still love it. Another honorable mention is the entire Putt-Putt series. Even if the series is a blur, it's one that I look at fondly, but after watching footage for this video, I'm starting to think it should stay in the past.
That was fun!
Number 1.
I've talked about Speedy Ebert a lot before, and there isn't much more to say in terms of the game itself. That said, I must have beaten this game at least 10 times. I love playing on the custom levels my brother made and he loved playing on mine. I remember one time he told me to try this level and I, having learned about cheat codes on the internet, typed in Givecopter and just flew away on the helicopter pack, scooting across the floor because you had no minds to place. The animation could not fail to amuse me every time. God, I wish the multiplayer was easier to set up. Since I'm already being a nostalgia whore, I might as well be a YouTube whore as well, so please like, favorite, subscribe, tell your friends, all that other stuff, and make sure to watch my other videos. Okay, thanks, bye.